What's up guys, we're gonna real beats, and today I'm gonna be showing you guys how to put counter melodies over your loops or samples. If you guys haven't subbed already or turned post noise on, make sure you do so because it does help a lot. So let's hop right into it. So what we need now is a sample, so we have to make one. And whatever I'm making this video, depending on when I release this, you should have the MIDI from here already, but if not, I'll just leave a link to it in the description for you. But I'll be giving you guys a MIDI for whatever we make in this video. So let's go ahead and do that and just get that out the way. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with our chords. Now I'm gonna fast forward through some of it, but I'm gonna be showing you kind of the tricks I'll use to make them. So this is the sound I'm using. And we could just default to like a minor, and then we could transpose later if it's too like high or low. So let's start with our A, and we can use our bass line as something like this just to be like generic, because we don't really need to do too much. And then what I would do here, let's actually double this. What I would do here is pull this up an octave, right? And the reason for this is to create a range. So let me zoom in some more and let's create a range. So our range is this, okay? We already kind of know the chords we want because of this, right? So from here, you can pretty much do something like this, right? And then you can kind of move things around as you please. All right, and you can maybe take one out, something like that. Pull this over. Whatever, we'll keep it. So I'm gonna do that throughout, and I'll just probably speed that up a little bit. All right, so. All right, so here are the chords. I'm gonna just play on one time through. Okay, so let's go ahead and do our melody now. And actually, before we start, I'm gonna transpose. Well, now we could just finish this out and then I'll transpose it. All right, so now we're gonna do the melody, and this should be easy because we got all this to work with. So I'm gonna copy this, and actually I'm gonna pull all this down an octave. Paste, and then I'm gonna just show you like the technique I'm gonna use. So what I like to do is kind of copy the mid area. We could pull this up 2 octaves, and then from here what you can do is kind of play around. Let's pull this down. Play around with some of these notes. So like you can use this as like the ending note here, and then let's make this smaller. Let's see. You can see we're kind of building the melody, and then if you want, you could pull these up to this and then maybe change the notes or whatever. So I'm gonna go ahead and go through that and then just kind of fast forward it. So all right, so real quick, what I'm gonna do is just add a variation on the second part. So I'm just kind of like put in other notes. So something like this would work, right? You can just fill them in like anywhere you want, right? I'm probably all right, so hopefully you heard that part. So that is the melody, but what I'm gonna do is transpose this. I might give y'all the original like this, but for this video I'm gonna transpose it. All right, so I found something that worked. So this is, we're in E minor now, so probably gotta change this. And we're gonna do the bass, but I just want to fix this. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the bass. All right, so this is the simplest part, just the bass. Again, just a custom preset. So I'm just copy this bass, and I don't gotta speed this part up. It's pretty simple. And then let me see. Actually, let's do something like this. Just copy it over, and then I'm gonna pull these up just so it's like something different. It's not like a basic bass line. All right, so that is pretty much the sample we're gonna use. So what I'm gonna do now is kind of render this out so we can kind of act like we have a sample. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is pretty much show you how to mold any sample or loop to your BPM that you want and kind of make it, you know, on beat and everything, right? So what I did first was I rendered out the regular melody at 70 on 170, and I changed the BPM to a random BPM 142. And I'm doing this so that it can be as realistic as possible, right? And then after that, what I did was I put this to 12, and then I pitched it down 3 times, 1, 2, 3. And then I rendered it out. Okay, so what you're seeing is the result of all of what I just showed you. So this is what the sample sounds like now. And the reason I did that is to mimic a real sample, because you can see this is not completely on beat. So how do we get this on beat? Well, you double click, okay, and this is the process you can go through every single time. You right click and then go to audio editor, and what you need to do is find a perfect loop. Now I already know this one, right, because you can see it's kind of even already, but you want to find a perfect loop and then double it. So I'm gonna listen. So right here, right, and then you would just double it to find that perfect loop. So what I'm gonna do is pretty much just go through this. Right, and then we could just fill the rest of this out. And that's pretty much how you would chop it. And that's all there is to it, right? And then once you drag it in, okay, and we can rename it to, let's do chop, and let's change the color to our green. And then from here, to get it on beat, right, you want to double click, right click, 4 bars, and this is gonna lock it to the grid. So to stretch this how you want to make sure this is ticked, this stretch mark, or this little stretch icon, right? And then you want to pull this out, okay, and then you can see now, and then we could change the BPM to whatever we want now, right? So let's just go back to 170. Right, and then you can change it from resample to auto if you want to keep the original, but obviously it's going to distort a little bit, so I'm going to go resample. So that is how you kind of match it up to the BPM and make it kind of on beat. All right, so now I'm going to be showing you how to find the key so you can make a counter melody. Now you can download plugins for this and all that, but I think everybody should know how to do this manually as well. You might even come out with a better melody using this method. So what we're going to do is turn this chop down, so I like to just enough so you can hear the melody, because what we're going to be doing is making a scale specific to this melody, but only using notes that sound good. It doesn't matter if we got like those half steps like that. We want to only use notes that sound good. So what I'm gonna do is just click some notes, and what you want to do is just only leave the notes that sound good. So let's just start here. Right, so as you can see, all of these notes sound good with this melody we made. Right, so if we can kind of remember these notes, you could go ahead and make a scale, but to save time, I'm just leave it how it is. So I'm gonna use this D6 and just make a little quick melody. I'll do something. Let's do something like this. And I'm gonna copy this up an octave, and then from here, if we can kind of remember like that, we can kind of just put together some. So let's just kind of go up the scale. And let's just copy this over, right? So now we got a little melody to go with this. So all we need to do now is kind of add a sound to this. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so this is the biggest part of this video. Like everything we just went over on this part is just technical stuff, right? That you can learn anywhere. You can find plugins to do everything we just went over, right? Which is cool. It's important to know how to make this and put your melodies over here, right? But the biggest part is your sound selection. So I'm gonna try to keep this brief because it's a lot I could talk about. But let's just play this first, right? That obviously doesn't sound good, right? So one thing you can do right out the gate is pick sounds that match the sounds in your sample or loop, right? It seems obvious, but people don't do this all the time. Okay, so if you have a lo-fi sample with a lo-fi piano, you ideally want to copy the effects and type of like instruments used in that sample, right? So you can use brass, you can use like realistic instruments. Now in this case, we are using synths, right? And of course I design these sounds so they're gonna sound somewhat similar, so it's kind of cheating in a way, but at the same time they're all synth sounds. Okay, so what I want to do with my actual counter is copy this to a synth like sound. Now, does this work every time? No. If I want to use a piano, what you would need to do is sound design, meaning you want to add, you know, EQ it, you want to add delay, reverb, you want to pan it, you want to level it, right? Of course. And then there's extra things you can do by using chorus. Now, chorus will glue your melody into the sample, and I'll show you that later with Serum. But I'm gonna just play this straight out the gate, and I'm gonna just leave this low. Right, you can see by picking a slightly different sound or a sound that matches the ones in our sample, it sounds a lot better already, and it matches the mood. Okay. So from here, it sounds a little weird. It's a little too like in your face. So what you want to do, we can just use this for effects. We don't got to go into the mixer. We have reverb and delay. The reason we use reverb, it'll widen it and everything, and the delay will kind of put it in space a little bit, especially when you do like ping pong delay, right? And I'm gonna play it now. Right, and even if we turn this up a bit, right, it'll start to fit inside of our sample. Okay, so it's still something missing. So what you can use is chorus. Now this is going to glue your melody to the sample. Now this is only with synths. This doesn't work necessarily with realistic instruments because it's going to make it sound a little bit weird, but with synths you can get away with this, right? And when we put this chorus on, you can see it kind of blends in a lot better. You can see it's kind of kind of spread out, a little spacious, right? Diluted. It's not so in your face now, right? And this is still not even at the max volume, right? Right, and you can see now that it sounds kind of a part of this sample now, right? Now I know this part was boring, but this is the most important part, whether you like it or not. I'm gonna try to give y'all a text file of the steps so you can remember. But that's pretty much it. Those are the steps. Of course, I could go into detail on certain issues, but those will be for other videos and stuff. I'm trying to think, is there anything else? I think that's pretty much it. Right, pick the same sounds or pick similar sounds and then add effects. You need to sound design, right? Not everything is just gonna work just by throwing some on. And also adding the same character. So if you have, like I said, if you have a lo-fi sample and you want to add a sound to it, you probably want to add that lo-fi effect to that sample too, right? So keep that in mind. But that's gonna be it for this video. Hopefully it was helpful. Make sure you guys like and subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.